everybody, to In the Kitchen with Kevin today. Oh, we're so excited for this because not only is Kevin in the kitchen, but we have our good friend Joel Autry with us today. Kevin, take it away.
Thank you, Dodie, and thank you for those of you that are showing up. And today I am so excited to have my buddy Joel Autry. He's here to help me along. So we are now going to be calling this guest sous chef. So today is Joel Autry. Say hello, Joel.
Hello, Joel.
Anyway, Joel and I have known each other for, we were just saying, over 20 years. I do want to just do a little bit of history of Joel and I's relationship. We knew each other. I did catering to a lot of people that Ron Thompson did their yards, and we've done stuff. We knew each other from Portland, but what was really cool is when I sold my place in Portland, I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. And Joel offered me this opportunity to come help him out when he purchased the Silverton Grill.
Yeah.
You know, everyone thinks that I came to run down to be with Mom and Howard. Well, there was that part, but that was going to be my main job. And we had a really good time doing it. And then I ended up at Howard Hinsdale Cellars. Howard really needed help building that menu rather than just cheese boards. So I saw this little room and thought, well, here we're going to do it. And everything was done on George Foreman grills and induction stovetops. We just did whatever we could. And then obviously moved to the space that Joel was in now. And what's fun about all of this is when we decided to sell, Joel was the purchaser. So we kind of kept it in the family. And then time moved on, and then I want Joel to say a little bit about the fact that he now has successfully sold the wine bar. So there you go.
Breaking news in Silverton. Joel sold the wine bar. Tell us all about it.
Well, it was highly unexpected given the current times. Running a restaurant during COVID-19 was becoming a big challenge anyway. So started asking questions about what you want to do, and then out of nowhere, someone approached me and asked if I had any interest. And so we talked about it, and it really didn't take me long to decide. I was ready to move on. I can't say who's got it yet, and they'll announce that, but I'm excited about it. It's really interesting that when you go to sell a business like that the community really, really enjoys, you want it to go into the hands of somebody who's going to be, take care of it the way you were attempting to take care of it.
Which is exactly the way we felt when we sold it to Joel.
Yeah. So that's the case.
So this is a good thing.
This is a very good thing, and it'll be different than what I was doing, but the same spirit, community-minded, comfortable, welcoming kind of a place is what I'm expecting. So that's very exciting for me.
Well, we will miss you, Joel, very, very much.
Well, thank you. I mean, you'll see me on the streets more.
Hey, it's a roundabout way of saying Joel and I are both unemployed, so help us out here. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we're going to talk more here in a minute, but tonight we're going to be doing what's called Fun with Puff Pastry. We talked a couple weeks ago about not depriving ourselves of a good Christmas, a good Thanksgiving, or even an everyday thing. I'm a true believer that everybody should keep puff pastry in their freezer. So that's what we're going to do. We are not making puff pastry from scratch.
No.
And if you want to see it on YouTube, you'll understand why it's an intense process. And basically what it is it's just layers of butter and then dough, butter, dough. Very important to keep this cold as possible. So I'm going to set one over here for you.
All right.
And I'm going to set one over here for me. And the two things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a brie en croûte, which is brie puff pastry. It doesn't have to be puff pastry. A lot of people make these with like pizza dough. I don't like that because it gets too hard, and by the time you cut through it, everything's kind of gone like this. So anyway, I'm going to take this little piece and I'm just going to bring it alive. So I'm just going to roll it out just a little bit, maybe another ½ an inch. I don't want to roll it out too much is what I'm trying to say. But we'll roll that out, and Joel, I'm going to have you do the exact same thing. You throw this.
Are we switching?
We're switching, yeah. So this is gonna be yours when it comes time.
All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna roll the second one out. So what I'm doing is brie en croûte, and this is going to be baked brie done in puff pastry. So what I did is I found a small little brie, a softer cheese with the rind, which some people like to get rid of because they think it's nasty. I think it's the best part of the cheese.
Yeah.
Can you eat the rind?
Oh yeah, that's the best part.
Okay. I usually do, but I thought I better double check.
So anyway, I'm gonna do a little bit of a faux pas here, but it works in this recipe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the top of that off. So I'm just gonna take my little knife and just, you guys probably can't see much of this, but it's fine. I'm gonna cut just the rind off the top. Like that. This is where it gets fun. You can do apricot jam, you could do fig jam, you could do, I've done before where I just do layers of pear, whatever you want. But I tonight am doing because I had a lot of it, this nice fresh raspberry jam, and I've added just, Joel saw me, just a little tiny bit of horseradish to give it a kick. So that's gonna go on right on the top. And then I'm going to put some walnuts. Just like that. And then we're gonna obviously take the puff pastry and you're just gonna put it right on top there. And give it the old flip. This is where it gets a little weird. So we're gonna flip this over. I gotta get my hands underneath there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out exactly, so I'm just gonna do this. I'm going to bring this here, I'm going to bring this here, and the idea is I'm gonna crimp this and seal it. But you wanna use some egg white, and that just kind of becomes the glue. This could have been a fun one that you crimped on top, but I'm not doing that, not tonight. So anyway, now I've just done this all, and I'm just gonna seal it with this egg white. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna leave that there for just a moment. The other thing we're doing are these, what are called, well, I just call them breakfast palmiers. And what this is I'm gonna have Joel over here. Let's come a little closer. So he's gonna brush that puff pastry with butter. But beforehand, I'm gonna steal a piece. Because remember, most of our menus that we're doing and recipes are maybe 2, maybe 4 people. Because maybe that's all we're gonna have for the holidays. But you can, like I said, do not deprive yourself of stuff that's fun and beautiful. So he's brushing that with the butter. So then take the spoon and just sprinkle a little cinnamon on there. So I don't know if you've ever had a palmier, but they're kind of those heart-shaped things. This is my play on it. It probably isn't, you know, officially a palmier, but we're okay with that, right?
I'm okay with I'm a hands-on guy.
Just, yeah, we're fine.
I feel like I have more control if I do it.
Exactly. And a lot of cinnamon if you want to do that. It's a small bag, sorry. Okay, so we've got the cinnamon on there, and then we're gonna have Joel sprinkle a little brown sugar. Yeah, we're gonna make this sweet as heck. And then he's going to sprinkle some, you know, you can do whatever nut. I just happen to have a bunch of walnuts, so that's, you know, what we're using.
You want to go up to the edge with this?
Just go on the edge, yeah.
I've been over the edge for a while.
Yes, I know. Okay, so what we've done here is we're going to roll this up. Okay, see? So we're gonna roll this up to the middle. Okay, and then we're gonna take this and do the same. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Oh, just let the nuts fall. Because, well, all sweet. Anyway, FYI, I don't know if anybody knows this, but we're just blessed to use this kitchen at the senior center. And this is where Meals on Wheels is located. So we get to use their kitchen. So thank you, Carol. Anyway, and thank you, Dodie. So these, you just want to get to there. You want to bring it down back to there. And then eventually just kind of squeeze that together. And then I'm going to go like this. Oh, God. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit more of this egg wash and put it right down the middle, because this works so well as glue. So anyway, we're going to pinch that together.
I'm going to stop eating eggs if it's actually egg.
Yeah, it is glue. Yeah, it is glue. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just start in the middle, and I'm going to do about a ½ inch. And just do these slices. And these are going to go, oh, you have to be kind of careful with these. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, can you slide that over there?
Yeah.
So we're going to put these like this, and I'll give them a little smush down.
Are you putting them on parchment paper?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Again, you know, Dodie, that I like to talk about favorite tools and stuff. I have learned this from my grandmother years ago, and that's why I still have the same cookie sheets, is to always use parchment paper.
I'm learning that.
Bake cookies, you know, whatever. So anyway, we're going to put those in. We're going to put these in here. Okay, so that's what they look like. You can't really do any more than that. I'm going to hold off because these both take about 20 minutes. Now what I'm going to do is have some fun with this puff pastry. And I'm going to take my egg wash again. Try not to get that yolk. But oh well, right? It's going to be okay, do you think? It's going to be like scrambled egg. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay this across. So you can make leaves, you can make whatever, poinsettias. I'm just going to do something really simple here. And
So you're making it all pretty.
I'm making it all pretty. This can just lift up and go right underneath. So that's like that, and then maybe for the fun of it, I'll just put a little, so this will be like a no nuke brie. Okay, so I'm gonna put these both in for 20 minutes at 400 degrees.
Now, Kevin, you said you'd mixed a little horseradish.
Yes, just to give it a little kick.
Would you do that if it was still like a fig jelly or a fig jam or apricot?
Oh, I might, yeah, I like a little spice and sweet. I mean, it's totally up to you.
Right.
So while these are cooking, this becomes the informative part. Is I asked Joel here. First of all, he still owned the wine bar, so we kind of botched that whole thing. But I asked Joel here to not really speak, because we're trying to keep this a positive experience for everybody. So during this pandemic, as we know, it's messing with the restaurant industry. And after hearing Joel talk about this, what?
It's called We All Dine in Silverton.
We All Dine in Silverton, and the amount of food that they are making for people that are in need. So we're gonna talk about how this pandemic can be turned into a positive. So I'm going to give him the floor, let him speak a little bit, and I hope that there's some questions for him.
All right, so we had the initial shutdown, and so we weren't doing anything, and then we got permission to do takeout. And so I could only manage, based on labor and all that, 3 days a week. So I ended up with a lot more food than I could use. So I had just a few days earlier been informed that the Wednesday night dinners couldn't gather anymore. And a good friend of mine, Cherry Arbuckle Huffman, which I'm sure a lot of you know, worked with me when I was volunteering there. We hit it off. So I called her and I said, hey Cherry, I've got this food. You probably know some people who could use it. So we started off just with my surplus food, making 5 to 7 meals a week. And she started getting more and more requests, and then we started getting donations We got to 20 a week. And then it was clear that the need wasn't being met because they were doing 300 to 400 meals on a Wednesday night. So even now, people are missing out. But so we decided to try to expand. So we got the word out, getting donations of food, cash, people's time and effort. And so we're not cooking at the wine bar anymore, obviously, but we had left there and moved up to Emmanuel Lutheran. So now we do anywhere from 60 to 80 meals a week. And we have, I guess we probably have 8 to 10 volunteers depending. And so on any given Monday or Tuesday, I'm up there with 2 to 3 others, 4 others, making the meals, assembling them, packaging them, dating them. And then we give them a cherry and she coordinates the drivers who deliver. So we're up to about, like I said, 60 to 80 per week. And we keep some frozen. So we have a little bit of a surplus in case on the days we don't deliver, there's a need. So it's something that's really growing and we want it to grow. We don't want it to become complicated. We definitely want to be focused on feeding people. When I say feeding people, I really want them to know that some care was taken to make these meals for them. It's a small thing that might just give them a little bit of brightness on that day to know that somebody wanted to do something for them and cared about it. And so that's the number one value is the combination of nutrition and maybe just brighten somebody's day. And as long as I'm involved, I think that's going to be the focus. And I'm pretty much excited about the fact that people have bought into that, those who are volunteering.
So you're giving a gift from the heart, what you can give and you're giving back. That's awesome, Joel. Are you needing more volunteers to help?
We will need more. And one of the things that I'm doing is I'm now starting to invite people into the kitchen to watch our process. Ooh. So that we don't overtax any one volunteer. Right. I just felt like we got to get it to the place where people are just spending the right amount of time that would make them excited about coming back to do it again.
We know about volunteer burnout. I think some people even on this group know about that, huh, Kat? It tends to, when you have really good volunteers who are very giving, sometimes it's hard to not overuse them because they're giving their gift of time, and that should not be taken for really granted.
No, I agree with that. And I think you and I talked about it, Jody, because there's a second side to that where volunteers also should be treated, respectfully. Because I know that, this has been throughout the years because I grew up with a family that's what we did. And it amazes me how many times I would volunteer this or for this and get somebody that is just so raunchy that I just want to walk out the door. But I've learned that, I'm here for the greater good and, let that goose go. And yeah.
So for us, there's a surplus of volunteers and people that want to volunteer. And one of the things that we have to do is create a little bit greater organization around what we're doing before we bring people in to volunteer. So I want people to come in and see a clear path about what they're doing so that, they don't get frustrated and so forth. So, but we're working toward that. And now that I have more time on my hands, I can really put some effort in.
Right. You don't want to set yourself up to fail since you're now kind of growing and expanding. You don't want to go too fast or too, crazy so that it doesn't all work out.
Correct.
I understand that.
I was going to say too, one of the things that's happening that I'm really, really excited about is that we're keeping an inventory of 30 meals at any given time out at the resource center at the old tractor sales place where Sarah White's working. And I had the opportunity to go out there yesterday and chat with her. And so one thing about what we're all doing, because there's so many people doing things in town with regard to helping those in need. At the very least, coordinate so that we all know what we're doing, so that we can make referrals, you know, and that's in the short term. And who knows what can happen if we're continue to coordinate our efforts and not duplicate efforts and so forth. We can do some really good things here.
You know, that's one of the things I truly love about the Silverton community is folks are so giving and kind and considerate. And, you know, we all are in this together and you feel that camaraderie. I've been always very happy to be part of the Silverton community and be able to give back.
When he spoke about some time and some care and putting something together that's not just 4 square or 3 square or whatever, and that is absolutely amazing. But him talking about some care taking in and, you know, it looking attractive or whatever, I think is a real plus.
Absolutely.
And this is what we talked about, and I don't mean to lead that in, but this is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago and why we're doing, like when we did the soups and whatever, take a little sour cream and garnish it and take something green and put it on.
Absolutely.
If it's just the two of you. Or buy a big roll like we did last time, cut off the top, toast it for a minute, now you got a bread bowl. So I think, you know, unfortunately, once we all get used to this, we won't ever need to go out to dinner again, which is kind of sad, but it's the truth.
Did you say how long you've lived in Silverton, Joel? And what brought you to Silverton?
I moved to Silverton November of 2001. I had met my partner, Ron Thompson, 2 years before that. And I was living in downtown Portland. Mm-hmm. And as a kid, I grew up in the Midwest, close to Chicago, and I always wanted to live in a high rise in a downtown area. And I finally got some semblance of that.
The Ion Plaza.
The Ion Plaza.
We lived a block from each other for years and didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we didn't know.
So, the Ion Plaza is the oldest high-rise in Portland, and I lived there. I had a great apartment with great views and everything, and I thought, I finally got here. And then I met Ron, and I started coming to Silverton, and slowly but surely fell in love with the town, and I moved here 2 years later.
Obviously, Silverton loves you too, Joel. I'm really happy
I appreciate that.
Well, and I have to tell you that, you know, I don't need to go into details, but being who I am, I actually was very fearful to move to Silverton. Until I think him and I had a conversation. You know, my mom or Howard could say whatever they wanted. Well, they wanted me down here, so they're going to say, you know, whatever. The streets are made out of gold and what have you. But I was very nervous to live in a small community, and I will tell you, after the 11 years that I've been here, I mean, I can't imagine, not necessarily living anywhere else, but I cannot imagine going back to the big city at all. I have one more question for Joel. What's your Facebook page for this group that you're talking about?
Oh, it's just We All Dine in Silverton.
So at Facebook, We All Dine in Silverton. There's 246 likes right now.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm at 247 because I did.
That'll be a place where we're just going to share information, you know, talk about the need for volunteers. But that's a great place to just exchange information. And so right now, Cherry Arbuckle and I are checking that place and responding and so forth. And so that's a good spot to work from.
Yeah. No, Cherry's a great volunteer too. And
Nice.
I know she helped a lot with the Wednesday night community dinners, you know, making sure those folks who couldn't make it had food delivered to them and stuff.
This is the time where Dodie likes me to speak about my favorite kitchen tool. We already spoke of it, but I'm just going to say it again. There is nothing better than parchment paper. We just, again, talked about it. In probably about a month, I'm going to teach everyone how to actually cook in this. He's been he's had this before, but you can cook salmon, you can cook all kinds of stuff. You know, you fold it up. It's called en paupiette, which means in a pillow. But anyway, I think everybody should have this, and then you'll have your cookie sheets for like mine, 25 years.
My favorite kitchen utensil is on the table, Kevin.
What?
I want you to figure out what it is. Guess what it is.
It's the knife.
That's second place. So I have this thing about wasting food, It's just how I grew up. I mean, most of us probably understand that, probably understood that growing up. But my favorite kitchen utensil that helps me not waste food is the rubber spatula.
Oh, love the rubber spatula.
Oh.
This is a little one
Yeah,
too.
but you can get everything out of there. You know, and when I had the restaurant, I'd have my guys back there cooking, and they'll just dump everything out of the bowl with a spoon. And then I'm like, well, that's 2 more servings of sauce that you just left in there. So get the rubber spatula and scrape it out and save us a little money. So that's why I like the rubber spatula.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joel. I know they have all kinds of spatulas now too. I've seen some really nice little ones for smaller things, and then there's your big ones, and
All shapes and sizes.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like all of us.
Yeah.
Any questions for Kevin?
I have something. I watched the soup show on zucchini soup, and he used a plane. I don't have a plane, but I have several graters. And I have thought, well, I don't need a plane. But I'm beginning to wonder if I should. So would you kind of sell me on getting a plane?
Well, I just, like I said, I live for a microwave. I just, especially when I'm talking about, I mean, if I need cheese done or whatever, the grater works. But like getting fine things of like garlic and whatever, yes. And you shouldn't take that much to sell you on one because they're about $7 or $8. Yeah, you can go online and get them. I got mine. I don't know if anybody goes to, what's that place called? Till Tuesday? Oh, Tuesday morning. They've got great stuff. And I think I spent $7 on it.
So Kevin,
Yes.
you used raspberry jam for this.
Yeah.
What is your favorite for this particular
Raspberry.
raspberry? Okay, cool.
Yeah, raspberry jam is one of my favorites. But
Awesome.
like I said, the big jam, you could use quince paste. You could use anything you really wanted to. I really enjoy, because it looks so pretty when you cut into it, like I said, just fanning some thinly sliced pears, little cracked pepper, bag the nuts, and just do it that way. It's really pretty as well. So, FYI, if you see, once I get these on here, and these could be made to be served the next morning. But if you can see, once we get these on here, they turn into little palmiers. They're like heart shaped. I'm gonna let these cool so that everybody can, well, everybody, the 3 of us can try them. Because they're super hot, especially with that melted sugar. So these are the cinnamon and sugar puff pastry palmiers. See how cute they are? So, you know, in the morning you can make these. If you notice, it just take a few minutes. The longest time is in the oven. But good with little coffee, little tea. They just look interesting.
I was gonna say, smelling those make me want a nice big hot cup of coffee.
I do too.
You mentioned a fig jam with caramelized onions.
Yeah, it's a big onion jam, and it's made with red onion, dried figs, red wine, and sugar.
And you've made it yourself. You don't buy it. You make it.
No, that's what. Yeah, I definitely made it myself.
That sounds delicious.
Maybe one day I can demonstrate that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun to just see all the different appetizers and, you know, sort of things for this time of year.
Sure.
Definitely.
But those kinds of things, a bacon jam, a big onion jam, you can make all kinds of jams, and they go great even on a cheese board, like a quince paste and that kind of thing. I actually attempted that this summer. A farmer brought me some quince that I've never worked with it before, and made that, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
So guys, those took about 20, 25 minutes. Obviously the brie is going to take a little longer, so.
Okay. So Kevin, what is your absolute favorite appetizer to make? I don't think we asked that.
I don't know. I mean, now that let me really think of it. I used to love just doing the little caprese, you know, little ball of mozzarella, basil, but that's like been done so much. So.
I remember going to a few parties at Kevin Cater's where he would make this big, huge, I think it was like a piece of granite that you had, odd-shaped granite with like roasted marinated vegetables, charcuterie, and it was just this big,
Oh, yeah, those were charcuterie and cheese boards, even though that's not my favorite. I love it because you can just fill up this whatever. And I mean, that we went to a party not that long ago, and the person took their whole dining room table and just topped it with paper.
Yeah.
And the charcuterie board was just on the table. It was awesome. So yeah, I like doing that. I think my favorite, now that I think about it, are my mushroom du sel. So the stuffed mushrooms that are filled with the nuts, puree of the nuts, the stems, garlic, and blue cheese, and then cooked and steamed in red wine. Those are really
Oh, that sounds very good.
Pepper doty. I don't like them because I don't like blue cheese, but like we talked about before, I excel in stuff that I don't like.
No.
That's because I don't have to pick it apart when I taste it. So that's been the big thing of mine forever is I excel on these things that I don't like salmon. I can tell you a bunch of stuff I don't like, but the things that I've come up with, everybody seems to like. So I don't know. I don't know how that works.
How about you, Joel? What's your very favorite appetizer to make?
oh goodness. I can tell you, it's arancini.
Good.
Arancini is it's a deep fried risotto bowl. So you take your leftover risotto from the night before, you roll it and you stuff it with your choice of cheese. I like to use smoked Gouda. Then I make my own marinara. You roll those balls in panko, deep fry them, and that melts the cheese on the inside, and you dip it in the marinara, and the rest is history.
Oh, I'm getting hungry.
I have a question for Kevin. Can you take the dough, the puff pastry, after you've rolled it and freeze it before you cook it?
I don't think that there would be any need to refreeze it. I mean, I wouldn't refreeze it and then try to use it again. It needs to stay chilled. So once I've unfrozen it, I'm going to keep it in the refrigerator. Does that make sense?
Perfect, thanks.
Joel and I are pretty much apart, but he's part of my family bubble. So we got to spend Thanksgiving and stuff. So if people start saying, oh my God, they weren't masked or whatever, please let them know that he's part of my family. So we don't really need to do that. And that's why we decided to keep Dodie in the other room. So here it is, as beautiful as can be. I should have made these or whatever, but you just can't see much. So that's now cooked. We're just gonna lift that up. And I'm going to, now that he's totally on this, so I'm just gonna make it all pretty. I put a bed of thyme, and you'll see this when it's all done. And then you can put crackers. Personally, I think the bread's already there. But what I'll probably do is I would do about some 1/4-inch slices of Granny Smith apples, because the tartness with this is going to be so good. I'll just do these and we'll show you what it looks like here in a minute. We were talking about no waste, and if you started with the first one where I made the soup, I don't like to waste, and we had the wine bar, I was noticing, the ends of the onions and the tail end of this, or a leek with the leaves or whatever going in the garbage. And so what I started doing, and this is something you can all do, is I would just fill a big Ziploc bag, and once that was filled, I would keep in the freezer. Once that was filled, then I would pour it into my crock pot, add water, add some peppercorns, and then I would cut, let it sit all day and make some beautiful vegetable stock.
Yes,
Pretend that this is a gorgeous platter. It's a piece of narwhal, but can you see that kind of? So then when you serve it to your people, whoever those might be, you just cut right into it and you just dig away. But yeah. So it's ooey and gooey. It looks beautiful while it's pouring out. And what I've done before, where I cut the top off and then I make rings after ring after ring of puff pastry on the outside and bake it. And then it becomes like fondue. It's kind of fondue-ish, right?
You get some salty, some tangy, some sweet, a little spicy.
You get a little bit of that.
Everything.
Yeah. And I think Joel and I probably are on the same page of when we're cooking, we also think about texture.
Yep.
So that's why I added the nuts. The reason I don't add the nuts to the pears is so they keep a crunch. The bitterness or the tartness of the apple goes really well with that. I wouldn't do a gala apple or anything too sweet. So there you go. And first of all, I want to thank Joel for joining us as my first guest sous chef. All right.